Hi friends, this is Carly and I am back today with another manga review. Today I'm going to be talking about Witch Hat Atelier, which was recommended to me by a follower in the comments, and I went back and tried to find the name of the follower and I could not find the comment anywhere. So if it was you that recommended this, please let me know in the comments of this video and I will shout you out in the description. I wanted to say before I started that I checked the comments on my last video, which was the first time that I was using a system of notes, and everybody seemed to like that, at least that mentioned it. So I will continue with that this time, and if you like when I have the notes, please let me know, and if you prefer it the old way, let me know that as well. So with that being said, I'm going to dive right in to Witch Hat Atelier by KAMOME Shirahama. Here is the cover. This book is released by Kodansha Comics. And it's really got a stunning style to it, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later. But first I'll do a quick overview. So Witch Hat Atelier is about this little girl, Coco, and she lives with her mother, and they are seamstresses. And she lives in a world in which there are witches who have magical powers and can do magic, where there are also magical environments. For instance, they live next to a magical lake or pond right near their house, but where it's believed that witches are only born. So as a small child, Coco has an experience where she meets a witch at a market and is sold this magical book and wand. And from that point on, she dreams of being a witch her whole life. The story for us begins when a witch a group of women in a magical carriage come to visit, and through a series of circumstances, Coco accidentally casts a spell that entraps her mother in stone, and she is then taken on by a teacher witch and his 3 apprentices to learn how to do magic herself so that she can free her mother. That is the very condensed version of the story from the point that we start. So I felt like the beginning of the book, while I like the concept of the story, everything just sort of sped off right off the bat, right out of the gate, and it was the major plot points sort of happened really quickly. It was like a race to get this information out, while the bulk of the book itself is actually dedicated to the establishment of the world and magic in the world, which is really important and really well done in this volume. So in this volume, they do a great job of teaching us what the magic system is, and in this series, it's a system that uses writing magic. So everyone has their own magical book or piece of paper or system, and their wand or pen allows them to draw sigils in particular forms that cast spells. So there's really detailed explanation of this throughout the book, where the materials for inks and wands come from, how sigils are formed, how spells are memorized, the major elements of spells. And to that end, we finished the book, at least in my opinion, I felt that I finished volume 1 with a really solid understanding of the magic system and a little bit less of a firm grasp on the story itself to this point. And you might have been able to tell that from my description, because from the beginning of the story to the end, the major events that take place are sort of appear out of nowhere and are over very quickly onto the next thing. So, which I didn't hate necessarily, because as I said, the establishment of the magic and the world, the magic system and the world was really important and really well done. But it will be really interesting to see now if in the second volume, for me personally, if the pace slows down to a much more palatable pace, so that we can sort of linger on the major plot points of the story a bit more. So the characters in this story that we are following right now are Coco, the main character, her mother, who is entrapped in stone after Coco casts her spell. Quifrey, I think is how you pronounce it, is the teacher, the witch who takes on Coco as an apprentice. And his 3 apprentices are, I'm just giving these names a shot in the dark, Tesha, Richa, and Agat. This is something that really sort of bugged me as I was reading, that the names are, it's kind of really difficult to tell how to pronounce them. So Quifrey or Kifrey is spelled Q-U-I-F-R-E-Y. What I'm pronouncing is Tesha, is T-E-T-I-A. It could be Tetia, Tetia, Tisha, Tesha. It's sort of difficult there. Richa or Rika is spelled R-I-C-H-E-H. Not really sure how that's supposed to be pronounced. And Agat is a little bit easier, but just a clunky name in general, A-G-O-T-T. So really the names were bothersome to me. I don't like any of the names. They're difficult to pronounce, and I don't know how you guys read your manga, but because manga is so visual for me, I find myself actually sort of reading aloud in my mind, which typically I don't do if I'm reading a novel or something, but I sort of read it as if I were watching an anime, and when I'm stumbling over the names, it is very distracting. So it really bugs me that these names are so difficult for me to get a grasp on, and that's just a personal preference. In this volume, Coco takes on her first test as an apprentice, and this is sort of through some trickery of Agat, who is her roommate. And Agat is a very cold personality and very smart and sharp. So she sort of feels right off the bat that Coco, as her new roommate and someone who has been brought into this fold completely unaware of what it takes to become a witch, should be held to the same standard as everyone, and takes it upon herself to throw Coco into her test. So that's kind of an interesting introduction into Agat's character. It's kind of difficult to know if she's actively seeking out to be nasty to Coco, or if she truly just wants everybody around her to be the best and to rise up to the standard that she holds for herself. So she's an interesting character that I can't wait to know more about. Tisha and Richa, we don't really get to know a ton about except for sort of a glossed over look at them. Tesha is very bubbly and friendly and outgoing. She jumps right in and introduces herself to Coco. And Richa is sort of sullen and quiet and thoughtful, and we don't really get to know very much about her. So by the end of the volume, all four girls are together, moving on to the next adventure. So I really look forward to seeing the dynamics between the four of them in the second volume. We are introduced to the main villain or antagonist in the story, and this is the witch wearing the eyeball mask, who was the one who initially sold Coco the magic book that she grew up reading. And as it turns out in the story, this was sort of a prophecy that someone who was outside of the community of witches would gain access to their magic, and because of that, a certain series of events would take place, that she would bring change to that community. And I won't reveal any spoilers there, but that sort of antagonist, we don't really know if this is a bad guy or a good guy. It seems like they're just trying to facilitate the prophecy at this point without any negative hopes or hope for negative outcome, but we don't really know what the prophecy is. So I like the way that that mystery is introduced, and I like that that character sort of has that shroud over not only their face, but their intentions. Probably the best part of this book for me is the art. So this whole book is drawn in a very distinct 1920s Art Deco style, and you can see that on the cover with the embellishments that are added here. Let's see. And I just marked some of my favorite art examples, hopefully with no spoilers. I think I tried not to have any spoilers. But just some of the beautiful Art Deco. Let's see. Can you see that? There's one. And if you're familiar with Art Deco, there's a lot of embellishment. At that time in the 20s, there were a lot of advertisements that would use like circular patterns with like basket weaving sort of. And there is a sort of an overall thematic presence of like fairies, jesters, maybe witches, sprites, nymphs, and this art style really captures that spirit really well, and I absolutely love it because it captures the spirit of Art Deco, but it's also something that is very unique in as far as manga goes. I don't think I've ever seen this style utilized, but you can see tassels there, the sort of Robin Hood style cap. Those are all very typical of Art Deco style. And the pointy witch caps also are something that you can sort of see in those old Art Deco pieces. It's so hard for me to focus on this side, so I'm just going to hold these up and hope that you get to see them. But a lot of posters in the 20s sort of had this look and style about them, and I really admire it. It is definitely my favorite part of the book so far, is just enjoying the artwork. And I can see that a ton of care and awareness was put into it, so I really appreciate that. And this is, again, as you guys know, I always seem to find my way to the books where the author is also the artist, so I'm super grateful and excited that that's the case here too. So overall, with Witch Hat Atelier, I felt like the pacing was a little bit fast for me. A lot of things were glossed over that could have been maybe even taken into 2 volumes. This really could have been 2 volumes that was smushed into one. So we could have had 1 volume where we get to know Coco, get to see her be introduced to, what is the witch's name? Quifrey and his apprentices. We could have learned more about the world of witches versus the world of humans, and spent a little bit more time on the backstory of her getting the book. And then the second volume could have been all about the magic system, which is elaborate and explained in great detail in this volume, but could have been stretched out even further. So I feel like the pacing is the biggest flaw so far. I think that it's going to slow down in the second one. So I'm actually really excited with the way that this ended, this first volume, to see where it's going to go. Other than the pacing, I really have no complaints. The characters are endearing, the artwork is beautiful, the story is charming, there's this feeling of fantasy, of an epic journey ahead, which I always love. And like I said, I've never seen this art style utilized in manga, so I'm always excited for something new. So with that being said, Witch Hat Atelier was a success for me. I cannot wait to read the second volume. If you have read this book, please share your thoughts in the comments. If you're interested in me continuing with this series in the same way that I have with Beastars, please let me know and I will do that. I'm looking for more series to continue doing full analysis of, so if this is one that you'd like to see me do that way, please let me know and I will do it. Thank you all so much for watching my videos. I will have another one coming up very soon. We have more indie comics on the way, and I'll be talking about some novels too. Thanks for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye, friends.